Am I the asshole for being unwilling to compromise on a baby name? I, 31F, am expecting my first child, gender unknown, with my husband, 32M. We have been discussing, arguing about, a name for the last 8 months, and now I'm afraid there is going to be a tug of war at the hospital over the birth certificate. Stylistically, we want very different things. I like classic names. To give a few examples for a boy's name: Martin, Silas, Calvin. My husband prefers more unique names. He suggested both Artemis and Intrari from his favorite work of fiction. I don't want to name our child after a fictional assassin, and he doesn't want to name his child after an old man. Combining one old man name with one unique name, fictional reference, seems to create a really weird sounding combination, and we are both arguing over the first name anyway. I would love for this to be a 1 no 2 yes situation, and for both of us to be happy with the child's name, but he hates every single name I suggest, and I really don't care for any of his suggestions. I do feel as though I should have a little more influence over the name, if only because he automatically gets the child's last name, no questions asked. I told him that the child could have whatever name he picked out, on the condition that they get my maiden last name, and he refused. I don't actually expect them to have my last name. I was just trying to express that I understand how important the last name is, and I would accept his first name suggestion if I had the privilege of automatically assuming the last name. I am getting less and less excited about the arrival of the child, because it is surrounded by disagreement after disagreement. I feel like I'm not getting to name the child something that means a lot to me, names that I have had in my notes app since I was in high school. He said that he doesn't want to sigh, out of distaste, every time he has to call out this child's name. Am I the asshole for really sticking to my guns when it comes to the child's name? Does anyone have any suggestions for compromise? Don't let your husband name your kid after a D&D character. Jesus, he needs to grow up. Not the asshole. Suggest an exercise where each of you create a list of baby names you think the other person would like. Emphasize that you get he likes unique names, but he needs to consider your tastes as well. See if you can come up with a list of cool names that you think he would like that aren't distasteful to you, and ask that he do the same. Are there characters from books, comics, movies he likes that have more traditional names? Are there vintage or classic names that are more unique and don't sound so old-fashioned? There is definitely room for compromise here if both of you agree that the other's opinions are important as well. Names I thought of: Xander, Ansel, Asher, Lucas, Levi, Milo, Jude, Felix, Finn, Isaac, Malachi. Remind him you're not naming a baby, you're naming a person who will be an adult for the majority of their life. Not the asshole. I do feel as though I should have a little more influence over the name, if only because he automatically gets the child's last name, no questions asked. I find this to be perfectly reasonable. Adding to that, you're using your body to grow your child, and that will have lasting effects on your health. That all on its itty-bitty own tips the scales in your favor, but definitely that your child will have his family name, you should get to choose the primary name. The middle name, or names. I gave my kids 2 middle names, can be negotiable. Remind him he's naming a person, not forcing the world to play, guess the reference, with his favorite literary properties. This kid has to write a resume, someday. The only compromise I can see would be to save the unique name for the middle. If the kid wants to us it, that's up to him someday. Irrelevant with the disagreement, but Artemis is not a fictional assassin's name, no matter where he heard it from. It is the ancient Greek goddess of hunting, Diana in Roman, and I know people with this name. It is a name, just not in English. You can use the info as you please. Am I the asshole for telling my mom that I'm not responsible for her? Ever since I graduated college and started making money, my mom expects me to financially support her. I treat her often because I appreciate all she did raising me, but it feels like she uses that as a lifelong excuse. She asked me to pay rent when I lived at home, so I moved out. When she visits me in the city, at her own request, she expects me to pay for all meals because she's the guest. If she gives me a ride, even though I insisted on taking the train back home, she expects lunch or a gift in return. Because she drove me, I never asked her to? It's not like she doesn't have money. She constantly buying luxury items for herself, but she acts like treating me is a waste. I'm already covering our family's phone plan, my parents' and our pets' insurance. I'm grateful that I'm in a position where I can afford to provide for them while also maxing out my 401k and investing, but I also want to prioritize my own future. She guilt trips me constantly with, "We paid for your childhood, now it's your turn." We're planning a Europe trip that she suggested, and when it came time to book, she just stared at me. I ended up offering to cover everyone's flights and hotels. But instead of being thankful, she acts like it's expected. She was like, "Oh yeah, we paid for all the family trips when you were little." When I brought it up, she got defensive. saying she deserves to spend her money on herself now as she sacrificed so much for us while we were young. She paid for our sport lessons, tutors, vacations, etc. And I'm selfish for not doing this one thing for my family. What really got to me was when I asked for input on the trip plans and she replied, "I planned everything when you were kids. Now it's your turn." That made me snap. I told her, "You chose to be a mom. I didn't ask for any of that. I'm grateful, but you can't keep throwing it in my face. You're going on this trip too. I'm happy to plan the itinerary but contribute to it." She hasn't replied and we haven't talked in a week. Am I just being bratty? Are adult kids really supposed to shoulder this much for their parents if they provided a lot during childhood? Edit note. I make more than my parents combined. If that changes any opinions. But I'm also only in my mid-late 20s. I love my parents so much but I feel like a cash cow sometimes. I'm conflicted. Time to cancel the trip and cut your losses. This is so toxic. You are not the asshole. You are absolutely right. Your mom chose to be a mom, and she shouldn't want you to spend your hard-earned money on her. She should want you to invest in your future. Not the asshole. She paid for your upbringing because that was literally her legal responsibility. She doesn't get brownie points for raising her child. Now, if you want to support her, that's great. But you don't owe her anything just because she fed and housed her kid. You chose to be a mom. I didn't ask for any of that. I'm grateful, but you can't keep throwing it in my face. You said it. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. I hate attitudes of parents that because they brought a child into this world, the child owes them everything. No, the parent chose to bring a sentient being into existence without it having any say, and then governed that being for 18 years. That the parent supports their child is a duty. I, 42 male, will certainly never treat my son this way. He didn't ask to be born any more than I did. Not the asshole. Parents pay for kids in childhood because that's the choice they made when having kids. It's not so those kids will buy you things when they're adults. She is being outlandish and incredibly entitled. Can you cancel the flights and hotels? That's absolutely insane that you were forced into covering them. If she wants to go to Europe, she can pay to go to Europe. Do not do any of the planning. You didn't sign up for that. I think it's totally fine to tell them that you're no longer able to pay for the flights and hotels. They will need to pay you back for them, or you will be canceling the reservations by June 20th. Your mom is an expert-level manipulator. I highly recommend pulling back from her and going no contact. God, I fucking hate parents like this. Your parents are not entitled to your money. You're not required to treat them because they raised you at their own expense. You literally owe them exactly zero. Nothing. I'm dead serious. Cancel the whole trip and book yourself a vacation all on your own. They can pay their own way from now on. You owe them jack squat. Take your mother's silence as a sign to cut her off completely. She wants to be a part of your life, then she can stop acting like an entitled brat. Am I the asshole for pretending I wasn't done with the gym ankle strap because this girl kept asking for it? I, 23F, was at the gym doing kickbacks with the ankle strap. It's one of those things that's always missing, so when you find it, you kind of guard it with your life. This girl came up while I was mid-set and asked, "Are you almost done?" I said not yet because I still had a set left. Totally fine, whatever. But then, like 2 minutes later, she asks again. I was literally just resting between sets and she kept hovering nearby, glancing over like she was waiting for me to hurry up. It started to annoy me, so even though I was actually done, I told her I still had more to go. I stretched it out a bit and stayed there longer than I needed to, just because she was being low-key rude and impatient. Eventually she walked off and I put the strap back. My friend thinks I was being petty and should have just given it to her, but I feel like she was being pushy and kind of entitled. I didn't owe her the strap the second I was done, right? Am I the asshole? You are the asshole. Are you an asshole for wanting to finish your sets in peace and not be bothered? No. But like you said, it's one of those things that's always missing, so when you find it, you kind of guard it with your life. She was probably hovering over you because she didn't want someone else to swoop in right after you. I don't see why you had to lie and stay on it longer. Just do your workouts and go on with your day. The lying and staying on it longer than needed just in spite of a stranger who also wants to use the machines is what makes you an asshole. You are the asshole, good lord. How did you make it to 23 with this middle school attitude? You are the asshole, but you already know that. Could have just said, I'll let you know when I finish, please stop asking. You are the asshole, and if it's such a big deal to you, just buy your own ankle attachment for $20 on Amazon so that you can always have one. You are the asshole. Every time someone at the gym hogs a thing for a crazy amount of time because of rest optimization, I get more pissed. Odds are the girl had been checking if you're done before, so she'd already been waiting for a while. Obviously you are the asshole. For all you know, she's just awkward and doesn't know how to gym right, or was worried someone would swoop in when you were done, so she was making sure she didn't miss it. Don't make life worse for petty reasons. Am I the asshole for calling my aunt neglectful because she doesn't know why her son is behind in math? This happened last year and I'm still on the fence about it. Names are fake. I, 23F, was homeschooled in an online program with real classes, teachers, etc., not your typical homeschool experience. My aunt Susan, 51F, has 3 kids. This concerns her 2 youngest, Charlie, 13M, and Leo, 9M. She homeschools her kids. Very freeform, chooses her own curriculum, no standardized testing or real oversight. She complains a lot about how much work it is and how stressful and tiring it is. Sometimes their schooling takes a backseat to her work from home, or her severe depression and other medical issues. Charlie is behind in math to the point he still doesn't know his times tables, and even adding and subtracting is slow for him. It frustrates him a lot. On my mom's last call with Susan, on speakerphone, I offered to tutor Charlie to get him up to grade with math because he's interested in going to IRL high school. Susan laughed it off and said, "I don't know that he struggles with it, I think he's just behind, but I don't know." My mom and I were a little shocked. Susan then said she'd pulled him out of a more structured homeschool program in the past because she didn't like having to come up with work samples every quarter. I said that wasn't unreasonable and suggested that a more structured program would be better for him if he wants to go into IRL high school. Eventually, after a lot of back and forth where she implied my mom picked my program because she was uninvolved while she, Susan, wants to be an involved parent, I got frustrated and told her Charlie needs to learn to be accountable to someone besides his mommy. She started crying, said she didn't feel very supported, and hung up. The next day I sent a text apologizing for my tone but made it clear that I think she needs to put him in a different program if she's not able to handle giving him homework and doesn't know why he's behind. I told her that I love her but I love him more, and at this point this borders on neglect. And that she needs to let other people help her because she's harming them and risking her own health by trying to handle everything herself. She never responded. Later I heard from my grandma that Susan doesn't want to speak to me or my mom, see us, or have us hear about her life, basically that she's cut us off from her and the kids. My grandma said I shouldn't have said anything because Susan was hurt that a child critiqued her parenting. Am I the asshole for what I said and for pushing the issue? Not the asshole. What she is doing is pretty much the definition of education negligence. Ring CPS ASAP. She's the type of parent that gives homeschooling a bad reputation. Her poor kids, especially Charlie as it currently stands, are the kind that end up filling the homeschool recovery sub. You probably could have found a better way to say it, but the message needed to be conveyed, so I'll go not the asshole. Unfortunately, the way you presented it means that she's shut herself off from the people most in a position to help intervene on her son's behalf. Not the asshole. In my opinion, what your aunt is doing is a form of neglect. She is clearly incapable of homeschooling her kids. I know parents who have homeschooled, and to do it right takes a lot of work. It's not something you fit around working from home, depression, or watching cat videos. Your average parent might have a subject or two they like and/or are competent to teach, tops, without a curriculum and a lot of work. Her kids are behind, and are going to fall further and further behind the longer this goes on. Many states have standards and requirements in order to homeschool, and sadly many don't. If you feel strongly about this, see what the state regulations are where you live and see if the kids can get real schooling. Not the asshole. She is failing in one of her fundamental duties as a parent, preparing her children for the real world. She's mad because you're young and right, and this started with you offering to help in an age-appropriate way. Embarrassing that the other adults in this situation won't intervene. Not the asshole. And I would call CPS to do a check. At 13, he should be getting into algebra and chemistry. He's becoming functional illiterate and she's okay with it because it's her way. Anyone who agrees with your aunt is not doing the kids any favors.